In Part 2 of Lecture 4, we will discuss circuits, computer chips, and components. A computer is a complex electronic device with literally billions of transistors, which are all microscopic electrical switches. Integrated circuits are microscopic circuits chemically etched and with the various electronic devices, resistors, capacitors, transistors, and wiring, all added to them. The ability to place so many circuits and components into so small a chip is what makes modern electronics possible. In digital circuits, these signals represent ones and zeros. They can travel at the speed that electrical signals can travel, which is pretty fast. These circuits are microscopic, and their proximity to each other allows electronic devices to work as fast as they do. There are a variety of related terms that we use to describe these circuits. Computer chip, microchip, and chip are among the most common terms used. Transistors work because they can take advantage of properties of elements such as silicon and germanium. And many semiconductors are chemical compounds. What makes semiconductors different from conductors is that there needs to be a certain minimum voltage before current can flow through a semiconductor by adding very small trace amounts of other elements. The exact properties of these semiconductors can be altered. The three pictures that you see show how a blank piece of semiconductor material is turned into a computer chip. First, the circuit pathways are etched into the chip. After this is done, the various components can be added. Please note the small size of each component. The chip in all is smaller than a fingertip. If you open up a computer case, the component that you will see to which everything else is connected is a circuit board that is attached to the base of the computer case. This is the motherboard, which gets its name from the fact that it carries everything, just as the newborn's mother might carry her baby. All the components are connected to it, and it houses all the essential chips of the computer, along with the necessary connections, so that the various components of the computer can communicate with each other. In the top photograph, you can see where the processor sits. It will usually be one of the largest chips in the computer. Located near it are the control chips, which help coordinate how instructions are carried out. In the bottom photograph, you can see where the audio processing chip is located. This allows the computer to produce sounds. And lastly, you can see the multiple components labeled memory. It is in these components that the data currently being used is stored. Personal computers can come in a variety of sizes and can take a few different forms. This is where the term form factor comes in. It refers to the size and dimensions of a device or of components, such as its circuit board or its system unit. The system unit refers to the case which holds the motherboard and most related devices. It will also include ports through which various other devices can be connected, such as the monitor, keyboard, printer, external storage devices, and whatever else someone wishes to connect to their computer. Popular form factors include the component, where the various components of the computer may be separate, such as a keyboard and monitor, the clamshell, like the typical notebook computer, and the slate, where the computer is dominated by a screen through which users interact with the computer. They can do this with an on-screen virtual keyboard, with a stylus, or even with their fingers. You are looking at a computer system comprised of various components. Let's talk about each one. The system unit is the case that holds a large portion of the computer's parts. It holds the processor, main memory, a few drives, and the ports and interfaces connecting it to the various external devices. You'll notice there are actually two separate on-off switches, one for the system unit and one for the monitor. Since the keyboard and mouse get their electrical power from the system unit, you will see that they don't have their own on-off switches, nor do they have separate power cords. The keyboard is the most commonly used input device, with the mouse, which is next to it, being the second most common. The monitor, or display, sits on top of the system unit. There is no special reason that we place it here. My monitor at home is next to my system unit, which is a mini tower, but placing it on top of the system unit is commonly done. You will notice that there is a small camera on top of the monitor. It's placed here so that the user can appear on camera, which is one of the main reasons that we have a camera attached to the computer. This type of camera is called a webcam because it's frequently used when recording videos to be viewed on the World Wide Web. Since computers produce sound, it becomes very important to have a speaker here. Unlike the keyboard and mouse, it has its own power cord. Computers can have many different disk drives. This particular computer has a hard disk inside the system unit. Hard disk drives are usually magnetic disks. We will talk more about this later in the course. A CD/DVD drive is an optical drive bouncing laser beams off the surface, where they are reflected off the surface differently by the pits on the disk as opposed to the lands, unpitted areas on the disk, which are reflected at different angles. These two types of disks differ in how much capacity they can have. This will also be discussed later. You see here a computer with an obviously different design. But other than the touchpad replacing a mouse, the components are basically all the same as in the component system. This is designed to be much more portable than a component system, which you can see is clearly the case. The components that we see on a smartphone are a bit different from the two previous cases. We have a ring silence switch because telephones may need this. For similar reasons, we have a battery and antenna. The keyboard is a virtual keyboard that appears on the touch-sensitive screen. The rest of it is more similar.